Hello, and today we're at video 4 of my UX career path and journey. This is upskilling, iterating, and networking. Here's what's been going on the last month. If you recall, the last time I posted one of these videos, I was about to start a job at a warehouse on a forklift. That lasted all of 2 days. Lots of things wrong with that place. There were safety issues. The onboarding was atrocious. The commute was bad. I would love to sit here and tell you all the things that were awful with this company. I've worked for places that were kind of run backwards before, but once you've worked for a place that's even just a little bit right, going back is kind of like being in the twilight zone. At the end of the day, I realized there was going to be zero time for me to kind of continue to learn UX, keep looking for a job, networking. It just wasn't going to work out. I'm done with that place. Current projects. I'm working on a freelance project for a client, redoing a map for a park system. This has been more challenging than I expected. We've been working on this since February. We went out one day, used GPS to trace most of the trails that we could travel on at the time, used that in conjunction with an old map with some overlays from Google Maps. And this is kind of where it's at now. Still playing a lot with the colors. One of the things I learned about making maps is that you've got to make these trails, these dotted lines, all accessible. Because what if you're colorblind? How do you see the difference between the different trails? And even if you were just using colors, there's a lot of trails at this place. So differentiating between all the different trails has been challenging. Laying out all the information in the appropriate space has been challenging. It's a work in progress. I think we're dialing in on a solution now, so hopefully that will be finished shortly. Other things I've been working on. My resume's been overhauled yet again. I went through a period about 2 weeks ago where I spoke with some folks, got some feedback, and I had what I thought at the time was a pretty solid 2-page resume. It was at a page and 3/4, page and a half, something like that. I'll show a little clip of it here. And had a session with a couple ADP list mentors. They both mentioned that in their companies they would look more at the designerly looking resumes than the Word doc looking resumes, and that I needed to make that switch and also cut it down to 1 page. So I've done that. Here's what it kind of looks like now. In addition to like being a little more designerly, being 1 page, my links are clickable. There's this subtle little URL cursor to show that in the top right by my YouTube link. I was also told that my video introduction on YouTube is a great way to set myself apart, but it's always been challenging to get people to look at that. So now there's a clickable link on my resume, as well as to my portfolio. In the description for one of my projects, I actually have a list of the dwell time tracker video, which I've been told is another strong piece of material to get in front of people. So the resume's been a big thing. Also did a similar thing with the cover letter. So now I have a cover letter very closely formatted to my resume style. I'm working on a thank you letter for when I get rejections. And now I'm going back to working on website iterations again after I did a bunch of micro iterations. I'm going to do some larger iterations this time, one at a time. A lot of this comes on the heels of these ADP list sessions. I had one ADP list mentor who said my portfolio looked dated, and I took it as constructive criticism. And what was funny is I had a discussion about it with my career services mentor, and I think she was more defensive about it than I was. She thought my case studies were really strong. She did recommend a couple little suggestions for font changes, some stylistic things with my video cards. I've made some of those changes already. I'm making some more now. One of the things I've learned that's going to be very helpful is how to export WebM format videos. And these are videos that are feature a really stellar compression compared to what I was using before, but also let you use transparency for the web. So I anticipate doing some neat things with that soon. What else am I doing? Trying to work on my UI skills. One such practice I did was to make a calculator. I kind of remembered that from the UI Daily Challenge. And I'm just kind of inventing restrictions for myself. So in this calculator that I made, it's in the style of a Piet Mondrian painting. I don't recall all the stipulations I had. I think all the operators had to be the same color. All powers of 2 had to be the same color. I I had things written down. It doesn't matter. Here's my calculator. Right now, I'm working on reimagining a dashboard for the dwell time tracker study. Part of the reason was when I did that, that was purely about being functional. I rarely got to spend any time on the aesthetics because that's not what was important to the stakeholders. They didn't care about how pretty it looked. With the way the project was going at that time, there were going to be technical limitations. So, lifting the technical limitations and using some new UI skills, I'm putting a couple more features in there and making it look prettier, more modern. There's a lot of stuff on this dashboard, so this is going to be a little bit of a challenge, but it's a good challenge because I like to organize data. That's another way I'm trying to upskill a little bit. I'm also learning all the new Figma updates. Variables are pretty cool. I understand how they work. I haven't really had a chance to implement them yet. One thing I might do is convert some of my old XD designs manually to Figma just to kind of get that practice in Figma and keep going, try to find keyboard shortcuts, make myself a more efficient Figma user. It's funny when I talk to other people who are like in the job search and I sometimes you get this feedback that, you shouldn't have to do this to get a job or that. And I kind of feel like there's the way the world is and there's the way the world should be. If you only operate in a fashion of the way the world should be, then you're not going to get very far. So sometimes you have to kind of suck it up and do these unpleasant things if you want to get ahead. And I'm not saying you should, do unethical things or do anything that you feel compromises your integrity. But there are definitely times when I feel like you're going to have to do things you don't want to do. And some of the things that I'm working on learning are definitely up there. One of the things I'm excited to start learning about, if I can find the time, 'cause it's not a high priority thing for me right now, is called Bezel, and it's sort of the 3D equivalent of Figma. It allows people to design in a no-code environment for augmented reality, extended reality situations. And I am not personally very excited about the sort of extended reality things. I'm looking forward to trying it, and maybe I will just go out and buy a headset at some point. But I also don't want to get left behind. I feel like with Apple's investment in this new headset and their marketing, that it's going to be around for a little while. And I think what's more interesting than the current iteration of extended hardware is how we're going to see this in the future. I can imagine a situation where, anything that has a surface could have a display built into it or projected on it. I kind of hope we're not always married to technology in this sort of way that you can't get away from it. I don't know what extended reality is going to mean for us as people going forward. I don't want to be left behind. I'm sure it will evolve and change a lot from the headsets and things that we're doing now. For the last several weeks, the UX Job Seekers Huddle that I host on Thursdays has been on Zoom. It's been open to a wider community. There's been a lot of new faces, a lot of kind of UX curious people have been showing up. We've also been debating doing a UX Job Seekers Discord server. And I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea, but I feel like the question has to be asked, what are we hoping to accomplish with a Discord server? What services or resources are going to be there that aren't on other UX-oriented servers? Is the job-seeking scope too narrow, or is it just right? If you have opinions on that, I'd love to hear them. Also, show up at one of our UX job seeker huddles. I don't have a website or a newsletter or anything for this first. The best way is just follow me on LinkedIn. Keep in touch with myself and other people who join regularly. The next UX happy hour, which I've sort of been hosting quarterly, is going to be August 23rd. That's a Wednesday. I think it's going to be 7 o'clock Central Time. This is a general purpose networking event for all UX professionals. Each time I've done this, I've kind of iterated on how it's run, how we all come together and discuss things. Last time we did breakout rooms. This time we're going to do something similar. You'll be able to go into a breakout room with a theme of your choice. You should then be able to leave breakout rooms at your leisure. And then at the very end, we'll kind of all come together as a group discussion. Usually I'll stay late. A couple other people will stay late. Sometimes it's interesting to see what kind of crowd you get as people dwindle and leave throughout the night. It's almost always a good time. I don't think anyone's ever given me totally awful feedback about UX Happy Hour, so check it out. Again, follow my LinkedIn. I do have a link for the happy hour now if you want to register. Put it on your calendar before you forget. Final note that I have is I've been a lot more productive lately, and I'm finding I'm going to bed earlier. I'm getting off of screens earlier. I make more time to get outside. And I think there's sort of this counterintuitive idea that, if you make time to sort of heal, you'll be more productive. And in the past, I've had this method where I just like to push myself till I'm on the edge of burnout. And that never works because you're always going to get burned anyways. Find those ways to deal with burnout. Take time for yourself. Good luck in your own job search if you're in the same boat as I am. Thanks for watching, and until next time, have a good one.